I was born in 1980 and lived in the USSR for 11 years. It was a special time. Everything was somehow easy. Everyone knew each other. The same people lived in the same apartments for many years, and maybe they still do, dragging the past with them. I remember the old cemetery where many of the grandparents I knew from the yard, teachers in kindergarten, teachers at school were buried. I lived in Ukraine, in the city of Donetsk. And although I have been living in Moscow for many years, I consider it my home Ukraine. Once a year I come there to see old friends and relatives. It seems that nothing has changed there. Still the same old neighbors, still the same old sellers in the shops left over from Soviet times. All are already over 50–60 years old. What I remember most from childhood is my school. It was an unforgettable time. I studied at a very good school with quite interesting people. My first girlfriend was there, and my first friends were there. Most of all, I remember junior school. It was fun. We didn't yet have phones or set-top boxes or anything else. The fun of modern children cannot be compared with our fun. These walks for days on end. It was a great time. But there I had one not very pleasant experience. Then for the first and I hope last time in my life I encountered the supernatural. And I still can't forget it. I was probably in 6th or 7th grade. I was 12 years old. As always, we hung out with the boys until late. Then everything was lit and quite safe. The parents let us go. The time was approximately 10:30 in the evening. We sat in the yard and told stories about ghosts. I had little faith in all this and was not particularly afraid, and youthful maximalism made itself felt. I was not afraid of anything. Well, somehow an argument started between us. There was a school not far from my yard. She was in very poor condition, and the learning conditions were also terrible. The goal was this: you need to get into the school from the front door, walk past the guard, run to the 3rd floor of the school. There were 3 in total. Open the window and look out of it. The school was pitch dark. All this was done simply weekly, and since I really didn't like feeling weak or giving others a reason to doubt my courage, I volunteered to go there. As soon as I agreed to this, I immediately felt how my authority among the guys grew. We had a company of 7 people. At the same time, I could also make fun of others. They say, "You are a coward, a weakling, and afraid." And this gave me a pleasant feeling of superiority, despite the fact that at school in the first grades, I was a victim of severe bullying. And on this wave, I went to the old school. Standing on the veranda near the door, I looked out the window. The watchman was sleeping at his table, and very soundly. I carefully opened the door and made my way into the lobby. In a prone position, I crawled past the guard on my belly, went behind the wall and stood up. My friends were already waiting for me in the yard near the window. I had to act. Now I was on the 1st floor near the director's office. It was very dark and I didn't have a flashlight with me. I groped my way to the stairs to the 2nd floor. 3 minutes later, I was already there. I walked very slowly because one wrong movement and I could have fallen or stumbled. For the darkness was pitch black. It would have taken me a long time to poke out my eyes. I reached the 2nd floor and 10 minutes later I went up to the 3rd. As soon as I stepped onto the 3rd floor, I heard one of my friends shouting from below, "Run away quickly, run down." I felt anxious. As soon as I started to go down, I heard a scream from the yard. On the opposite side, several windows were open. The same friend who had just called me back shouted, "Stop, don't go anywhere. Stay still and don't move." This is where I was not just scared, but, to put it bluntly, shit myself. It was damn scary. Another cry was heard from below, "Run faster, I'm here. Do not listen to anyone." I didn't know what to do, who to believe, and where to run, go down, or jump out the window. I didn't know where my real friends were. I just stood there and cried. Again, there was a cry from below. "No one is standing in the yard. We are all standing here." Immediately, the voice of several more guys from our company was heard. "We are all downstairs. Don't go near the window, don't. We are rising." Suddenly, there was a wild roar, and the whole company shouted in unison, "Run!" I screamed hysterically and just ran forward without looking out the window. I did not come down, did not listen to both sides, but acted contrary to both sides. Someone was rising from below. "Don't go near the window. Don't go forward," they said from there. At the same time, a cry was heard from the window. "Jump! I've reached a dead end." They rose from below. I screamed and cried. Suddenly, I felt the door handle. At the end of the corridor, there was a door. I opened it and quickly slammed it behind me. I found myself in some kind of back room. There were steps to the attic and a descent to the basement. Without thinking twice, I climbed into the attic, and through it, I climbed out onto the roof. And then, I almost had a blow. Our whole company was sitting on the roof. I yelled, "Don't come near me." One of my friends ran up to me and, hitting me in the shoulder as hard as he could, hissed. Shut up! Are you a complete idiot? We climbed up the fire escape here as soon as we heard someone calling you at school. I was surprised. Wait, who was standing near the window? We didn't even have time to get there. First they went behind the school, they wanted to go around, and then they heard our voices, and were terribly scared. I was in shock, real shock. The voices below died down, but we were still afraid to look down. We sat like that until 7 o'clock in the morning, until people started walking on the street. Some even noticed us. We got off the roof and never mentioned this story out loud again, and I remember that night forever.